welcome everybody to this video. I am building a bookshelf. It's going to be about 7 feet tall. It's going to be about 4 feet wide, about 2 feet deep. So you'll be able to put books on both sides of the shelf. It's functionally going to be 7 feet tall, 8 feet wide, a foot deep. But I mean, for space saving purposes, it's just going to take up floor space of about 4 feet wide. Anyhow, so I've just been doing a bunch of calculations. I cut out my boards a couple weeks ago. I've done 4 that are just over 86 inches long, and then I've done 6 that are 2 feet by 4 feet. And so now I'm just marking off the lap joints on these pieces. So I just calculated 16 and 5/8 inches is where I need to make those. And so when I do the lap joints, I'm just going to cut them about halfway. And then on the shelves, I'm going to cut the shelves halfway, and then I'm going to slide them together as the joint. So yeah, so that's all I'm doing right now is just measuring up 16 and 5/8. There we go. And now I'm just gonna line it up, take it to the halfway mark, and then just repeat it 4 more times on this piece of wood, and then repeat it on my other 3 supports, and then I'll go from there. Yeah, so I forgot to mention, first of all, I got it wrong. I'm only doing 2 of these boards, not 4, because 2 of them are in pieces, and I'm not doing lap joints on the end pieces, just the 2 middle supports. I also forgot to mention, so while I'm marking off 16 and 5/8 of an inch, or 16 5/8 inches 5 times on the board, I forgot to mention that I have to, because I don't have a dado blade on my table saw, it's only 1/8 of an inch, I have to do one cut. So the 16 and 5/8 inch mark is the center mark, so it's going to be the center of the shelf. And so I have to cut 5/16 on either side in order to give me 10/8 clearance, 10/16 clearance, which is the same as 5/8, which is the thickness of the shelf, so the shelves could fit in. So I'm going to I have to measure off 5/16 on each side, and then all the way to the bottom. I've already done it on one board. This is my second board, and then I just got to do 4 more times on here. And I should mention at the end of the board, you can't see it here. At the end of the board, I'm leaving 3.5 inches at the bottom because once the bookshelves are done, I'm going to be doing 3.5 inch baseboards around it to make it kind of fit into the house, because the house is going to have 3.5 inch baseboards. So that's why measurements are off a little bit. But yeah, so all I'm doing right now is measuring off 5/16 on either side of the center line. So I just take an inch mark. I'm happy to use 3 inches, doesn't really matter, and then I just count off 5/16. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mark 5/16 on this, and count back 5. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoops, I counted wrong. I did 5/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5/16 there. And I come down to my 1 foot mark, because I'm only cutting halfway through to the support, and it's 2 feet wide, so I'm only going to cut 1 foot in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/16 on the other side. Now I just line them up. And mark them off. There's the 1. And there's the 2. So when I go to cut this, I'm going to be cutting on the inside of each line. Otherwise it's going to be too thick, right? So I don't want to cut straight down the line. I don't want to cut on the outside of the line. I'm basically creating this void here, and I'm going to be cutting inside the void. And then probably when I get to the end, I'll just use a chisel to break off this middle piece. You have to be careful though, because the blade is circular, And so you're not going to get exactly the halfway mark. So you just got to make sure that you don't cut too far. It's probably not going to be that big of a deal. It's just going to be like, you know, an eighth of an inch gap or whatever. So you just got to be careful that you don't cut too far. Anyhow, I'm just going to repeat this for the other marks. And then I'm going to be doing the shelves. I'm probably not going to show you the shelves because it's basically be the same thing. I'm just going to be marking off 2 on each shelf, and I'm going to have 5 shelves that I'm doing it on, and then I'll be ready to cut. So I just wanted to say that I really like these sawhorses that I built last week. They really, really come in handy. They're a bit too tall compared to my table saw, you know, just a quarter inch or something. But they're so handy. They make it so much easier to do long pieces of plywood. So if you don't have sawhorses, I highly recommend either getting a pair or making a pair. And there's tons of plans and ideas that you can find online for making sawhorses, all sorts of different designs and whatever else. But I just slapped together a couple last week, and they're working just great, and I really, really love them. They make my job so much easier. So shout out to sawhorses. So now I'm just marking off these shelves. I've already done one shelf. This is my second shelf. I'm marking off 2 marks every 15 and 9/16 of an inch. So that's pretty precise. Twice. And then I also have to cut off 1.25 inches off the ends because of the 6 pieces that I cut off to go horizontal, 5 of them are going to be inside the 2 end pieces. The 6th one is going to be sitting on top, so I'm going to be joining the end pieces up to the shelf, so that anything sitting on the shelf is going to have that extra support. So we put a little bit heavier things up top, whatever else. So that means that the shelves in the middle can't actually be 24 inches. They're gonna have to. I have to cut off 5/8 off each end, which basically comes to an 1.25 inches. Doesn't matter if I cut off 5/8 of each end or just 1.25 inches off one end. Rather do one cut than 2 cuts, so that's what I did. So I marked off 15 and 9/16 here, 15 and 9/16 here, and then 1.25 inches here. So all I'm doing right now is marking the 5/16 on either side for this one, and then I'm gonna repeat it on the next 3 shelves, and then I'll be ready to start cutting. So I'm just gonna line this up here. There's 1, 2, 2nd one. There. Now I just have to do 3 more. Alright, so what I'm doing here is I am cutting off the ends. As I mentioned before, they're 1.25 inches too long. I have to cut off 5/8 off each end, but I'm going to do 1.25 inch off the one end. So that's all. I've already done 1 board. This is my 2nd, and I have 3 more to do. So here we go. So there we go. I cut off 1.25 inches. I just got 3 more boards to do, and then I'll be ready to start my joints. Alright, so now comes the tricky part. Now I have to cut all of these lap joints. I have lots of cuts to make. I have 10 for the shelves and 10 for the supports. So I got 20 of these to do. I gotta make 1 cut, then another cut. I got 40 cuts, and then I gotta trim off the center. So here we go. I just wanted to say that it sure is handy having these sawhorses that I made last week. Makes a huge difference in those long pieces. That's my children playing outside. Anyhow, here we go. Oh, also, I'm wearing these. You might probably see me wearing these gloves. There are a lot of slivers in this plywood, especially what I've been cutting. So I'm wearing these gloves just to avoid getting slivers. When I was moving these out of my van the other day, a huge sliver, like gigantic, and it was really embedded, so I want to avoid doing that again. So that's why I'm in these gloves until I have it all sanded. So here we go. Close my light. Alright, now for the second cut. Remember, always want to cut on the inside of your lines. You don't want to cut on the outside, otherwise your hole's going to be too big. Alright, second cut. So I've made all the cuts, all 20 cuts, and so next stop is to chop out all these little spots here. So that's all I gotta do. I'm just gonna trim them up, and yeah, I can't find my 5/8 chisel, so I just have to use this one. I think it's probably, I don't know, maybe a quarter. That's almost 5/8 though. It's pretty close, so maybe ½ inch. Anyhow, yeah, I'm just gonna trim these up, and then I'll probably piece them together to see how they look. So yeah, here we go. Yeah, it's gonna take me a while to get through these. I'm not gonna get you watching me the entire time, but I'll show you when I'm all done and fitting them back together. So now that all the pieces are cut and all the lap joints are made, all I do now is slide all the pieces into each other. So I've done 4 pieces. I just have the last one here. I'm just going to show you how it's done. So you see how I have these 2 slots here. Well, underneath here, you'll see I have 2 slots here. So those 2 slots and those 2 slots connect together. So I'm just going to do that now. It's kind of challenging to do it with one hand. So it's another day, even though it's just been a few minutes since you started watching this video. Actually a week's gone by, and this project is probably going to take 3 weeks. I don't think I'm going to be able to finish it today. So what I wanted to do now is I am going to show you how I put it all together. The plan now is all I have left now is to sand all the panels and then drill the holes, connect them with my dowels, and trim the dowels off once it's dried, sand the dowels down so it's flush, and then I guess paint. So I don't think I'll get painting done today because I doubt that the dowels will be dried in time to do that, because I don't have a fast acting glue. So that's all that's left now. So this is what the shelf looks like so far once I connect all the lap joints together. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then of course we're going to have a shelf along the top, and then we'll have the sides here and the sides here, and then I hope to have 3.5 inch piece along the bottom on all 4 sides, well, all 3 sides, because this side here or that side, whatever, is going to be against the main wall in the living room. So that's what it looks like when all the lap joints are filled. All right, so hey, I'm all ready to start sanding. I've dismantled my shelving unit, and I have the first, well, just a second, I have 10 pieces I have to sand. I have 4 8 feet long, 2 feet wide pieces. 2 of them have notches in them for the lap joints. 2 of them are solid, and then I have 6 4x2s. Although 5 of them aren't exactly 2 feet long. I took I think 1.25 inches off, so not quite 2 feet long. Anyhow, I have 6 of those, so I have 10 pieces altogether. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be sanding both sides. I'm not going to be sanding the edges here or in here. I'll sand the edges once I've had it all assembled and after I've trimmed the dowels. But anyhow, I just wanted to talk about sanding. So my plan is I'm going to start with an 80 grit, a coarse grit, and then I'm going to start with then I'm going to move to 120, and then I'm going to finish with a 180. You could start with a 60 and then maybe have a couple others, but I'm kind of cheap, so I just got only 3. I'm hoping that this works. This is a stripping sandpaper, a smoothing sandpaper, and a finishing sandpaper. I guess you can't really see those, so anyhow. And I have this little Black & Decker sander that I'm using, that I've had for a few years. All I'm basically doing is I'm taking a sheet of sandpaper out of the 80, I fold it in half. I'm gonna fold it in half again. I don't have a disc sander. This is the only sander I have, so I got it for Christmas one year, so that's what I use. And then I just rip it down the middle. And then I have these little clips here. See these little clips? They, oh, well, you can see it, but this piece right here, it opens and closes as you move the clips. That's where you insert the paper. So I insert the paper, the rough side down. I just slide it inside here. And then once I have in the one end, just kind of even on both sides, then I just snap it closed like that, bring it around here, and then I fold it over, stick it in here, a bit too long, so I'm just gonna rip some pieces off that I can use for smaller projects or whatever. There we go. Just gonna rip it inside here. Make sure it's nice and tight before I close it. And then I just grab it. There, now it's tightened on. So now all I gotta do is plug it in. Now before I forget, I bought a couple of these masks yesterday. Because I'm gonna do a lot of sanding, there's gonna be a lot of fine particles in the air. I thought I should be wearing a mask to reduce how much fine particulate matter I'm going to get into my lungs, since I'm going to be doing sanding for the next few hours. I don't think I'm going to be wearing my glasses today because I don't think I'm running the risk of. Actually, you know what? I think I'll wear them anyhow. Yeah, so I think I'll put my glasses on too. So, just as a precautionary measure, make sure I have this mask on. There, I'll put my glasses on too, just to be safe. Actually, I can't even see. My mask is fogging up my glasses, so. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to forego the glasses. But anyhow, yeah, just remember to wear your mask when you're sanding. All right, so I've plugged in my sander. I've moved my stuff out of the way. Now all I gotta do is sand. I have 10 pieces that I gotta sand, doing 2 sides. So I'm basically sanding 20 feet 3 times. So 60 pieces. So I have 8 by 2. That's 16 square feet times 4. That's 64 square feet. So, and then I have to times that by 2. So 128. And then times that by 3. And we got 36, 24, 384 square feet. And that's just for the 8 by 2s. And then I gotta do the 6 4 by 2s. So anyhow, I have a lot of sanding to do. So here we go. I should mention that when I'm sanding with the grain. It's a little bit easier. It looks a bit nicer. You lessen the risk. You reduce the risk of gouging your wood, that sort of thing. So I'm not going to show you the rest of my sanding. That's pretty much. The next few hours, I'm just going to be sanding. So next thing after I'm done this, I will start drilling. So I finished all the sanding. Took me probably a little less than 5 hours. Whew, that was tough. Lots of dust in here. I wish I had ventilation system. Covered in dust everywhere. So that sanding took a lot longer than I thought it would take. I thought maybe like 3 hours or something. I still have the drilling to do though. It's like 5 o'clock now. If I don't do the drilling today, that's going to put me back another week. And so I'm thinking I'm going to try and get that done at least. I have somewhere to be at 7, and I still got to eat before I go. So, well, maybe I'll just see what I can get done. Because I still have to measure everything. I can figure out how much I'm going to do. And, yeah, so I guess we'll see. But that's where I'm at so far. All the sanding's done. Took me about 5 hours. It's to do the three passes on each side. So I did 80, 120, and 180. And I just realized that if you count every pass once, or as a separate sheet, and each side is a separate sheet, then I did roughly 500 square feet worth of sanding this afternoon. So I don't know, it seems like quite a bit of sanding. Okay, so what I need to do, I'm going to drill 3 holes. So I'm going to do 3 dowels to give it a little bit extra strength. And I need to measure off, you probably remember this from before, I need to measure off 16 and 9/16, 5 times. And then I'm just going to mark them off, line them up, to help me when I'm drilling the holes. So that's what I'm doing right now. So there's 16. And 9/16. 9/16 is one more than 8/16, and 8/16 is the half mark. So I'm just marking one mark past there. 16, oops, 16 and 9/16. Doing this side, 'cause it's blocking my light. I don't need to keep it very dark because it's just a guideline. So there's one, and then what I need to mark off is, because I'm doing 3, it's 2 feet wide, and so that's 24 inches, and I need to divide by 4, because if I divide into 4 sections, in between those sections will be 3 points. And so what I need to do is I need to divide it off in 4, which will be every 6 inches. So I'll mark off 6, 12, and 18. So now I have center points. Where this line intersects with these 3 notches, that's the center point, and that's where I'm going to be drilling my holes. Now I just got to repeat it 5 more times, and then on another piece, the other end piece, and then I got to mark it off similarly for the shelves, except I just need to mark off the 2 point marks. All right, so I got them all. I got all the lines measured out. So here are the dowels I got. They are 5/16. So I put it on a 5/16 bit on my drill. Also happens to be a Black & Decker. That's weird that I have a sander and a drill that are both Black & Decker. But so now all I got to do is drill these 3 holes, repeat it on all the lines, and then do my other piece, and then I'll be ready to do these shells. So I'm just gonna drill right now. So just find the center point. See, the nice thing about this, I don't know if you could see it or not, but it has this little tip on the end. That's where I can line it up on the center point. Yeah. That was weird. Alright, let's try this again. I'm gonna line it up and one, two, and 3. So I just got to repeat the rest of these, do the other sheet, and then I'll be ready to do the shelves. Okay, so I have my shelves marked off. Just finished drilling all the holes in the end pieces. Got my trusty safety glasses on. I wish I could have worn my safety glasses when I was doing the sanding. I got a little bit of dust in my eyes, so they're a bit irritated. But I couldn't wear them and the mask at the same time because my mask was fogging up my glasses. So, word of advice: when you're picking out masks and goggles, make sure that you don't skimp out and just get the cheapest ones possible. Trying to buy the best you can afford, so you can wear them both at the same time, protect your eyes and your lungs. Anyhow, I have these marked off now, every 6 inches, 6, 12, and 18. I'm going to drill these now. It's a little bit different here. It's a bit tricky because on the end pieces, I could just drill all the way through. I can't do this on the shelves. I have to only go so far. So the dowels I have are 1.5 inches long, right? And so I need to drill a total depth of 1.5 inches, but these are going to butt up against the end pieces. So that's 5/8. The plywood's 5/8 is wide. So I had to take away 5/8 from 1.5 inches. That gives me 7/8. And so what I did is I marked off. I'm not sure if you can see it or not. I marked off 7/8 right here with a piece of tape. It's actually just under 7/8 because the tips of the dowels are rounded, and so I wanted them to stick out just a little bit, so that when the glue's dried, I can just trim them off, sand them down, and then we'll be okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill until the tape hits the wood, where I marked it off here, and that will give me just under 7/8 inch depth. So here we go. There we go. I was just a bit paranoid that I was going to go too far in, so I just got to be careful here. I'm just going to do the next two. Trying to do it quickly here. There's one. There, got 3 done. Just need to do the same for the other 4, and then I flip them over and do the other ends. So it's another day. This is the 3rd day I've been working on this shelving unit. So it's really been 3 weeks now. I didn't have enough time last time to sand and put the dowels in, but that's what I'm doing today. So after I've done sanding everything, I've assembled the bookshelf here. You can see I have all the shelves connected with the support pieces. So now today what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be putting the end pieces on. So I've already drilled holes into each of the shelves, and now I'm going to put the end pieces on, put some glue in, put the dowels in, and let it dry. One thing I forgot when I was drilling all my holes is to drill the top piece. So I haven't drilled that yet, and I haven't drilled holes into the tops of these end pieces. So I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to do that. One thing I did notice, I did a bunch of measurements and marked off everything nice and evenly for the end pieces. The shelves I didn't though. I did mark off 6 inches, but I didn't measure the centerpiece, and so I was just trying to eyeball it. And as a result, I have a couple of spots where the holes are a little bit too low. So what I've done is I've oriented the shelf so that the spots where the holes for the dowels are a bit too low those holes are facing towards the bottom of the shelf. This way, once we have books on top of it, it's going to lessen the chance of it ripping. If it was on the top and there's extra weight put on it, it'd be more likely to rip and tear. So I'm hoping that doing it this way will allow me to still save the wood. But I have 2 other holes, and the support pieces, I'm hoping it'll still stay. So anyhow, that's what I'm doing now. So I'm just going to grab this piece here and stick it on top. There you go. Yeah, and that's about where it's going to sit. Gloves, take away some of this sawdust, some of these wood chips from where I was drilling. Alright, so now that it's on here, I'm gonna glue the dowels together and stick them in. So I was just doing a little bit of preliminary testing, and it's gonna be tight, which is what I was hoping for, because hopefully it'll hold it together. But I lined up this bottom piece, and then everything was skewed, so I realigned everything, and I lined up the top piece, and sort of lined up the bottom piece. So I'm thinking what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to attach the top shelf and the bottom shelf, and then adjust them as need be. I'm gonna just have to grab the shelf and move it around and stuff. It's gonna be pretty tight, but I'm hoping it's gonna work. So what I'm gonna do here is I have a piece of used sandpaper, like it's pretty much sandpaper, sand's all gone. So I'm just gonna put some wood glue on the back here. Just trying to put my lid back, there we go. And then I'm just gonna grab these dowels and cover them in wood glue. There we go. And then just stick them in. There, first one's a success. Alright, now I gotta, well, this is gonna be a bit tricky. It doesn't want to line up properly. I got quite a bit excess glue, so I'm gonna have to make sure that I wipe that away. This one here. Going in. Another success. Whew. And then, since these two are lined up, this middle one should be able to go in fairly easily. First one done. Yeah. So now I'm just going to do the other end, and we'll see how it lines up. So some bad news. The dowels aren't going to work. I'm not sure what the deal is. If it's just because my my floor in my workshop isn't even, or if it's because I didn't line up my holes properly. But after I put in the dowels for the top shelf and the dowels for the bottom shelf, it kind of made the end piece bow, and so I can't properly attach the middle pieces, so I'm gonna have to end up screwing it. On the plus side, I don't have to wait for the glue to dry. I don't have to do as much sanding, trimming off the dowels, do as much sanding, so I'll be able to get them done sooner. So I mean, that's okay. But I was looking forward to being challenged by the dowels, and I mean, I guess technically it was, because it beat me. But yeah, so now I'm just gonna screw them, and then maybe sand them off and prime them, and then I don't know if I'll get around to painting them today, but if it's about noon right now, so depends how long it'll take for the primer to dry. But I actually might just prime it inside, or maybe take it inside after it's been primed. I don't know. We'll see. So yeah, that's where we're sitting at the moment. So here's another reason I can't use the dowels. I don't know how well you can see this, but this dowel has actually come straight through. There's a knot there, and it pushed through the knot. So, I mean, obviously that's not going to work. And I thought there was one more somewhere, but I don't see it now. So, yeah, that sucks. So, the dowels I did put in, can't really pull them out. So, I'm just going to have to trim them off here. They're just sticking out a little bit, which is what I planned for. I planned for it to stick out for about, what was it, 1/8 of an inch or something, which it seems like it did. So, I mean, that worked out well. My measurements were fine for that. So I'm going to have to trim those off before I put the primer on. So that's all I'm going to do right now. And then I'm going to be screwing in the pieces. There we go. So that's one of them. Just got a couple more to do. Alright, so I've trimmed off the dowels. So now what I need to do is I need to drill some pilot holes for my screws. I'm going to try and line them up with the existing holes that I drilled rather than taking the time to measure out and remember, because they're a little bit off, so I'm going to have to adjust it as I'm screwing them in. So I have a drill bit here. Actually, I'm not even sure what the size of it is. It's just really small, so you know, maybe 1/16 or something like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole in, and then I'm going to use this bit here, and what that will do is it'll drill a little bit of a indentation, which will allow me to countersink the screws. And then I'll put my other piece in. So that's what I'm going to do right now, is drill these pilot holes. Just got to drill 4 of them. Oh, and I should mention the reason I'm drilling pilot holes, because if you don't do that, you run the risk of splitting your wood when you're drilling with screws. So that's why I do this. Now I'm just switching out these drill bits. I'm going to put my extender in here. That just tightens it up. And I put my countersink piece in here. Go to the pilot holes. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to take the countersink out, put my regular Robertson bit in. It's a square bit, Canadian thing, but, and then I just drill my screws. Go. Now I just gotta finish that up for the rest of this piece, flip it over to the other end piece, then I'll do the top, and then I'm done. Alright, so I have screwed on all the side pieces, both sides, or the end pieces I should say, and now I'm just ready to do the top. I haven't drilled any holes on the top yet, thank goodness. There's no wood filling on that top. So I just need to mark it off. So it's 48 inches long. Double check. Yeah, 48 inches long. I need to measure into 3 sections, separate sections. So I'll have 2 lines down the middle, and those will line up with the center support pieces. So I basically have to divide it into 3. So 48 divided by 3 is 16. So I'm going to measure 16 inches, and that should be the center line. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Measure off 16. 16, and 32. Measure off right there. 16 and 32. Now I just still gotta mark them off. Draw a line so that I have it all lined up when I drill my pilot holes. There's my children playing in the background. It's actually kind of warm today. I'm a little bit sweaty. Alright, there's one guideline. And there's my next guideline. So I'm not gonna, you've already seen me drilling pilot holes, so I'm not gonna do a video for that. So anyhow, my next step is to just draw or screw in some pilot holes as well on the sides. I'm gonna have to do 5/16. Actually, I probably won't even bother because it'll be lined up and I'll just drill it in, so it's not gonna be a big deal. And then, yeah, I'm gonna put that on and then figure out where I'm gonna put it in order to clean everything up. Hey guys, so yeah, I have pretty much built the shelf. So I'm gonna give you a look at it. Yeah, so here it is. There it is sitting outside, completely constructed. Yeah, so like I said, it's about 4 feet wide, about 2 feet deep, about 7 feet tall. I think it's just a little over 7 feet tall. But yeah, so it doesn't look very big, but you have to remember that it's 2 feet deep, right? So, and a normal bookshelf is about 1 foot deep. So this is going to allow you to put books on both sides. It's basically going to be as if it's 8 feet wide instead of 4 feet wide. Yeah, so all I'm doing now is just doing some touch-up, filling in some of the holes that I left. Yeah, I think I left the project too long, and so there were some problems with some warping, I think. So I think I was able to fix some of that, but it made it really difficult even screwing the bookshelf together. So, and I think, and also some of the bookshelves weren't exactly cut properly, so it was kind of hard getting it all in there, but I got it together. So now it's just a matter of filling in holes, doing some planing where shelves and stuff don't line up. And yeah, and then once everything's dry, all the filling's dry, then I can sand it down and I can paint it. So yeah, it's getting closer. So here's some MDF pre-primed boards. I'm going to be using those. Basically they're the size of baseboards. We have 3.5-inch baseboards in the new kitchen and washroom that we had renovated. And I'm going to be putting those along the bottom. You can probably see at the bottom there's a space underneath. That's where I'm going to be putting them, just so that it ends up looking like part of the structure of the room. Yeah, so picked up a couple of those today. I'm going to be using those in the bottom, but not till probably after I've primed the thing. it's been almost a week since my last video. I know it's just been a couple seconds for you. So here I'm inside now. So I have my shelves inside. As you can see, they're pretty high up, and they're going to be going underneath this bulkhead. So I don't know how well you can see, but it just barely clears. Yeah, so it takes up a lot of room. Well, I mean, it's pretty high. It doesn't take up a lot of room width-wise because it's only 4 feet wide. That's one of the bookshelves we're going to be replacing. A few more bookshelves back in the living room. You can't really see them because of my big head. But so yeah, what I've been up to this week is I've filled in some cracks. I've glued in some cracks because some of the spots where the shelves were coming through on the, I guess it's on the other side. The lap joints where the horizontal shelves were sticking out on the other side. I glued some of those so it provide a little bit more strength, and then I filled in, cracks with the joints as well as where the knots had fallen out, and where I'd messed up on the peg holes. So I drilled those peg holes, but of course they didn't work, so I had to screw them in. So I had to fill in all the peg holes. Anyhow, yeah. So I've been just filling in and gluing. Last night I was sanding everything down, so now it's all ready for priming. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. I'm probably not going to show you my priming. Maybe I'll show you my painting, but I do want to show you the primer that I got. It's kind of interesting. I don't know if that looks backwards to you or not, but it's this recycled paint. So I'm not sure how well it works. But I guess they take old paint and then they recycle it to make new paint. So I'm gonna try that primer. The paint we got to put on top of the primer is just a white paint, just to try and make it feel like it's not taking up so much space, lighten up the room, give off a little bit of light, reflect some light, and as well to make it kind of feel like it's part of the structure of the home. Yeah, so that's recycled as well. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Just gonna prime it, let it dry, and then hopefully put on the first coat tomorrow, see where it's at. Maybe do a second coat on Saturday, or maybe that might be the final coat tomorrow. We'll see where we're going. All right, so I have finished priming these shelves, and I actually just finished putting on the second coat. So I don't know how well you could tell. Actually, I don't think I had put the primer on yet. So anyhow, so that's what it looks like now. You can't see the wood anymore. Actually, from the video, it looks kind of, yeah, it looks really cool. You can't see all the defects and whatnot. Up there, I don't know if you can see it or not, but I have 3 pieces of MDF. My plan, I think I mentioned this before earlier in the video, but down here I left space about 3.5 to 4 inches. I can't remember. I meant to do it 3.5, but I think it's just a bit too high, because the MDF pieces are 3.5 inches, I guess, high, well, wide, but once they're put up, it's going to be high. And yeah, so the point is, I'm going to attach those along the bottom here. So when I have it up against the wall, it's going to connect, hopefully, if I measured correctly, and depending on how it works with the windowsill, a seamless connection with the baseboards that we're going to install on the walls. And so it's going to look like it's actually part of the construction of the home. That's my hope. So yeah, so all I have left to do is install those pieces of MDF. I just have to check to see if the paint that I've put on there, I've done only 1 coat. They were pre-primed when I purchased them, and just cut them to piece. I cut the 1 piece here. Let's just take it down. So I've cut 2 pieces. Actually, it looks dry. Well, not quite dry yet. I cut 2 pieces 4 inches or 4 feet long. They're going to go on the sides, or like the front and the back. And I cut them at 45-degree angles on one end, and then left it as a butt joint or butt cut at the other end. And then the other piece, so I have two of those, and then the other piece is the same sort of deal, except it's 2 feet long and 45-inch cuts on both ends. So what it's going to do is it's going to sit up against the 2 4-foot pieces. Hopefully, oh, there goes my paintbrush. And hopefully it'll make a pretty nice polished effect. I was thinking of putting some along the top as well to give a little bit of lip for stuff we put on the top, but I might have to just do that another day or whatever. I can add those later on. But I put 1 coat on there. I still have to do a 2nd coat, but what I might do is I might attach them, and then once I have it nailed in, then I'll put the 2nd coat on top to hide the nails. So that's my plan. All right, so this is the end of my bookshelf video. I'm pretty much done. I'm just gonna show you what I've done so far. So here is the video, or the bookshelf. There it is, all painted. The only thing is that, so, and then I have this trim down at the bottom. I don't have any baseboards at the back there, but once I get the baseboards back in, it'll match up with these. I still have 1 more coat of paint to put on the baseboards on this trim. So, you know, from the distance, it doesn't look too bad. It looks functional, looks fairly even, but if you look too closely, there's some discrepancies and that sort of thing. Like, for example, we come down here and look at the trim. You can see on the one end it's higher than the other end. I don't know if you can tell the joints, how much different they are. See, in this joint over here, I had to do quite a bit of work. I had to do a bunch of filling, a bunch of sanding, just to get it all matched up. But from a distance, it doesn't look too bad. But yeah, all I have left to do is 1 more coat of paint on the trim. So that's pretty much it. The bookshelf is done. Other than that last coat of paint on the trim. Sorry I didn't have really a whole lot of footage showing you me painting it or moving it into the house, but yeah, it's functional now, and hope you enjoyed it. This is kind of a long video, but I hope you found it useful. Like I said before at the beginning of the video, I've never done lap joints before, but I think it's turned out fairly well, all things considered. And yeah, so I'm interested in your feedback. If you have suggestions or advice that you want to give me, be happy to hear it. I have a couple more videos coming in the near future. My next project is renovating a bedroom, so that should be coming up in the next couple weeks. And then another video is me doing a triple bunk bed. So I'm renovating a bedroom for 3 of our children to move into, and part of that moving is going to be building and installing a triple bunk bed. Yeah, so look forward to those in the next few weeks. And I know this video is kind of long, but I hope there's some useful information in there. Thanks again for joining me, and yeah, have a great day.